di tuzushira gorsa mes ani karsa gela kurangi many download di korla shue is.
So right now, I'm going to show how to open MNE Lab, but right now you don't need to do it today. We're going to do more tomorrow. So between today and tomorrow, you can do this on your own time.
Gelagi tanda many lab jura di kachetan di tungi is in a number so tanda deal tagi nangoya yo mares ngazu dingone di sanyi cheche inaya ta terin sanyi park tuzu dilla an kanzu ma pablen chedan kachetan tuzu sina digres.
So the first step is to download Anaconda.
Tangbo di ta Anaconda ma pablen che digres rimba tangbo.
The link is on the instruction sheet, which is in the classroom.
Tatsi di ani ko lamdun ikcha di nala years di classroom nala yores.
And this file is quite large, like larger than 1 GB. So if we all download it now, it's going to freeze the internet. So I would leave like maybe 30 minutes. Well, I don't know how fast the internet is at wherever your room is, but leave some time to download it.
Tadi karsa di ikcha di roa nyenche di ani chenbu yores roa GB chicks yores di masunza tanda nganzu sangma tunyamdu ani ma pablen cheba ina peche ani tatu di che dugres di masunza ani sosu tuzu ji shane ani pablen che tuzu chuze chegas tende korsi gires on the process.
So this Anaconda is a Python processing package. So all of the MNE Lab and all of the other scripts that we'll be using are run on Python.
Tanda Anaconda se di ko page nyenche gi dodan Python shisung res di imbasunza di MNE Lab yorwa di gi nyenche di pa shisha samangshid karsore ki sore di Python res.
So after you download Anaconda, then the process is pretty much the same for Windows or Mac.
That pablen chesabe jela ta ngazu karsore kachela sobagi gyurim jeradi ani window da ta Mac ni halam daures.
So on a Windows, from the Anaconda Navigator screen, you can click the PowerShell prompt.
That one?
Yeah.
The window la chashaba ina ta di karsore pa chu kandes chego metwe gi shugu la oreta tasho di yorwa tasho de le pebne ani pagi PowerShell prompt se digala nem gures.
So this is basically just a Python terminal. So on a Mac, you can just type terminal into the search bar and it will open a window like this.
That the Python gi terminals di chagi yores ra window la di che ani kesi la kushu di peju chigi yona ani page search la do ne terminal ani kaba ina andi shali res.
So there's a lot of other stuff here in Anaconda that we could spend more time on another day, but just to say that there's a lot of other coding software here.
Dadi nanglo la ngazo dadi che gi nyenche shen mangbu yorwa ta denzu thanda ngazo gu mares ani nima shimba chigla chikena ta chogres.
So once you have the terminal open, we're just going to follow the instructions from the sheet.
Tene ta phagi kha chatsa jela ani di lamdun ikcha shison ji dugin yes.
So I like just to check what Python version you're using.
Gela Quran Gundene did Python the Pajushi di Python gi Turim Jera di Kari imba di 20 years di imba sunza Python na nigab ani phage tingnar ni di cabinet version nan tibaina.
So if you just downloaded Anaconda, you should be using the most current version, which is here it's showing 3.12.7.
kyangi tanda anaconda tanda publin cheba ina peje thunim sa she de chagres and di thunim di any sum cha chuni cha doing the was doing the rest.
And so next I typed conda env list.
Tene any kyanzo khari phagi gabgo res laba ina conda che env list like the gabronas.
So this is showing me the env is short for environment. So it's showing me my conda environments.
ENV slide the Koryu Koguyo res, the Imbasanza, then the Kondagi Koryu Karimba de Tungres.
So conda environments are coding like areas, so you can keep all of your code and your packages in a contained space, so that if you want to do different projects, they can have different environments.
Oh, so the Kondagi Koryu say the any Kanzu Page Karsure code chair the anti maimbe the Karsure package the Chazan Shaksa the rest ra the any Leshido Mindawa in the Chigiana and Koryu Minda Sogres.
And you can always see which environment you are currently in by this, at the left of the line, it says base right now.
That's so Koryu Kawaii made that such a radi and Pagi Yigi go de la base slash the Adil Tagures.
So now I'm going to create a new environment using this line conda create -n, and then I can just have any name like example. And then I'm just going to specify the Python version to be the current one.
Tagela Kurangi the Koryu Savajik server in us and this way get to Karigabores Labaina, Konda Ladigab, and then create che any Tixitene and Tegodoa. Any example that the example like the Mingre, Koryu the Mingrata, those Gabainas that turn him Sava the Angran the Gabaina.
So now it's going to create the Python environment, and normally it will ask to proceed. So at the bottom it says yes or no, proceed.
The Japsavi Jela and Kurangi Koryu Saba the Sugrua, Susavi Jel Tivaj Tigres, and Kam Mutugi Imba members Lani.
So I'll just type Y for yes.
The name Mutugi Yin Laviala and YG.
So now it's created the environments. So if I type again, conda env list, I should see my new example environment show up in my environments.
The Koryu the twins Suesarwa, Suesavi Jela, any Konda che, any Koryugi, any Kotodi, Tenro Chesland Labaina, and under this Sava server the Tungres. Example said.
So now if I want to open my environment, I do conda activate example.
The Koryu the go check Guyana, check Guyana, Karigagorlana, Konda che, any activate said the cap, any Ija the Koryu the Ming the res.
So you see here on the left, now in the parentheses, we see example.
That Paget Siwana Shinjin Surdela examples Lani Koryu the Ming the Paget Gitoas.
So now I'm going to type this line conda install pip. And pip is basically a package that's going to help us put MNE Lab into our environment.
Tene the Konda che install pip plaji Gabgores, rather the Kachigres Labaina, any NME lab Geradi and Dinalsu Lengires.
And you know, that might take a little while on your computer because it has to download. On mine, it already downloaded.
Kanzu di chiditos gorsigres kaisana di mangela publish gorwa, Genlagi de la publish res ngene.
So now I can install MNE into my environments. So first I'm going to do MNE, which is a larger package, and then I'll do MNE Lab, which is a smaller package.
ro ta DJ la khares la baina ani ngola NME dia lugo res dila ani pip che install MNE la ne tibaina ako di MNE la di dina lu wa che an di lu sa ve je la ani MNE ki lab di lu ya res.
So this is the part where we wait a little bit because it has to download into the file here. So it will probably take like 1 to 2 minutes.
Da tanda di gap su to sbu khedo ko res kama chigni kaisana kuran dina lo la ya install chigo ro ya lu go ro.
Okay. Okay, so now I'll do pip install MNE Lab.
Tene ta MNE Lab kora lu ya imbasonza pip ti ani install la nikap ani MNE Lab la nikap res.
So if all of that works, then when we type MNE Lab at the end, then we should see the box pop up, and this is our the tool that we'll use to process EEG data.
Ta di gap sa ve jela an thama de la MNE Lab la nikap ina an di karso gi gun di char ki res an di nga zo gi ta thang to yeship che gi che do pejo che gi laksa di res.
So tomorrow and later this week, I'll show you how to use the software, but for today, I just wanted to give, just kind of walk through the instructions for how to get the software on your computer. And if you're having any issues with downloading it, just tell me and I can come help you with downloading.
Ta theri nga zo nyen che di ma phablen che da kha che di zamis ani de lamdo ikcha chura di shi khande sine ani kharsore di lo ne ani laglen tar gore di ma ngote che zamis nyen je khoran phejo che di sanyi da ani tan tan da dunda di gi che la ma shubis.
Great. So unless people have questions, I think we were going to do one more thing before they have free work time. Okay.
Thank you. See the public che because we can't go in the the table ina can la Quran la sumba ina Quran ro che tu gures. So he's wondering whether there's an easier way to do without going through all this coding, because students may have difficulty following the instruction.
Potentially, I know that James has been working on like an icon that you can click and open.
Mm-hmm.
So I can check with him if that's ready.
Okay.
So yeah, maybe just let me get back to you on that.
Tanda James Korangi tanda tadi ngazo icon tanda chigi thone tab dewu che di soya bezu chigi ores andi imbasun zangela la kejeti ne di tsayume di kejeti tigi yes.
But I will say it is helpful to get a little bit of practice with Python because it's a very powerful coding language, and if you learn how to navigate these coding environments, it can be very helpful for data analysis.
Chidan tanda di kanzu shemba ina pendo chembu pe ores kanzu na Python la di code che gi di chire doa karsure language chigre doa di ani shin suna ro ani tanda thangdo yiship che la pendo chembu yore khona pe di mangbu che tu res dinala.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so last time, or yesterday, we did this exercise on the science of communication.
계상아주 아니 칼수레 더 고다의 생리라고 그래. 네가 아주 최고지 두번 바스.
And we discussed ways of making a scientific product, poster, presentation, extend to a paper, as clear as possible for a scientific audience.
다 가장 아주 다 생리기 통계 식으로와 디 가서 제조민에다 양데 포스터 인바이네 담셰이네야 딘데 찍마 수백 값수 아니 가서 투두기 세부 수고야디 다 코데우 수고야디 콜라슈바인 바스.
In all of the themes that we talked about, right, of clear communication, the curse of knowledge, hand-holding, storytelling, is really important for when communicating science to scientists, but it's even more important when communicating science to non-scientists.
다 가장 딘데기 아주 고다트 디낭로라다 창고야기 아니 계절 낭로라다 가수 투두기 세부여와 고대부여와 아니 파조 땅행기 아니 미기 시세단도 줄라 안지 아주 삼로동네 최고바 디주다 생리발라 로아딘데직 수연이 생리발라 고다트베 거수 고구여레 딜레냐 아니 슈체직 다 망초라 아니 고다트베 거수 개체 자기어레스.
So what I'd like to do now is do the same task that we did yesterday, where you go through this wonderful poster that was created, and you kind of critique it. But now I want you to imagine how you might make this poster understandable and readable to a non-scientist.
다 대리 가족의 넘버 속에 최고의 랑자 제체 때문에 대리인데 any poster di 라 다 미규마직 생리마싱의 미규마직라 아니 땡야라스 라 아니 디낭로네 가수레 계주도 아니 말에 때 렉처 가르도 야 신사 가르도 디 공부시네 공자난 거레스.
So in particular, I mentioned that when I write, this is true, I imagine that I'm writing for a particular person. So when I write for science, when I'm writing a science paper, I imagine a particular scientist that I really want to understand my paper or my talk. The same is true if I'm giving a community talk. I actually imagine somebody who will be in the audience at that community talk. And I ask myself at every point, will this person understand what I'm talking about as I'm preparing the talk?
가서 쉬우나 신체는 견라 코라다 생리기 제조미네다 담시직 다리 제백값수 라 아니 생리버직 아니 로라 송네 아니 얘기 담시에 디셰백값수 다 담시기 첨바 소소네 미디기 고투서르에 라 온디 삼로 당긴당기 되기 위해서 라 디나 신체네 아니 망초라야 담시 제고 값수 라 망초 디 낭로라 미규마직 아니야 지금 셈라 송네 아니 코기디 계저디 구글베 코기 계저디 스콜라 세부 차그르베스라네 디 아니 삼로나라 숭긴 안 도스낭기여스.
So if it's helpful for you, you could imagine somebody in the community when you do this task. Maybe it's a friend of yours who's not a scientist but who's a smart person, or a family member, and go through this poster and think of a few suggestions that you would make to make this poster more accessible to somebody who doesn't know really anything about this particular topic.
다 단대 캬족이 최고디 두베컵수라 다디 포스터 딜라테네 안디 코데로 칸데탄 것도 세도 칸데탄 것도 디 최고 제베컵수 아니 견라기 나오나 신치네야 수송 워심바 미직 샘라 샤네 아니 코기 디컵도 데곧 고알렌투서레 마레 언데네 다 수송 워심바 나로리네 다 년세 나로 딘디직 손네 나오나 디그레스 된다 카레슬라나 코데로 타야 세도 타야 라 파조 디 미규마 세리카에 마싱이 지기 로용도 야나 녀용도 아니 고투야.
So you can open this poster on yesterday's course, The Science of Storytelling, open it up on your laptop so you can see the actual wording. Don't write your suggestions in the document. That clearly didn't work yesterday. Just make some notes on a separate document or handwrite them. And then we'll take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and think about suggestions. And then we'll just do a little bit of a back and forth and talk about that in a few minutes.
저도 가자나 왔나 시체네 디 포스터 디 파게 구글 기대나 여러 디 넘버 2 야 카체 아니 수수디 로 아니 삼자 강요 바디 아니 술라 챙겨기 내다 양지 컴퓨터 갈겨기 나갑 디 코란 갈라 갑도 가상아주 갸토 마소 아원디 나로나 안디네 상마 차외 젤랑아주 아니 트두르 까망아스 슈비스.
Is that clear? Any questions? Okay. Thank you.
What are you saying? 단단 남부서기 아니 트두르 체베 규림 나로라 아니 생리체 마싱이 미규마 찔라든데 코다트 고고요나 라 안 포스터 디 나로라 상두 땅고야 가래도 안디 공자 책 나로나스
Yeah.
So one thing that they think they could work on this is using illustrations to convey concepts. It seems like there are many technical terms in here, and instead of using technical terms, perhaps using illustrations might be better, more helpful.
So
And also
perfect
use-
point. And this is a nice example just of a cartoon that highlights going from a lot of text to more visuals. So in the community, sometimes you just want to kind of have more visuals to make it interesting and to really just start the conversation rather than having all these dense technical terms that either may intimidate people or just cause them to get confused.
That the kangi sungbadi any thara res any kezangaju the Lebanon 신체내 이초 전부 라고도 미규마 생리 마싱에 된데라 이초 전부 여바이나 건조기 따디당의 고추고 말레슬라니 안파 죄바 용시그레스디 찹도 아니 리모다 따데 칼소레 탄다 페리라 소바딘데 표시셔바이나 안 건조 이완 토야다 아니 지게 된다 도엘라 된데 개바수그레스
Gen chicken gen, ngado graph dogen. Graph de jwa answer rating dogen. This graph de pe gonyo por da scatter togde. This sabla namguni pie graph da dear again somebody kas bar graph this get lelo ta midun jo su ta din ni kono to kodo link lelo dogen.
So they would replace these graphs with pie charts and other things that are, more easily explained and also more easily comprehended.
So that's a great point. Maybe some of these scatter plots are a little bit technical. This graph may be kind of, reasonable to interpret, but one thing you could do is put a very simple summary point below that figure to just make it very clear for the community member what they should take away, in addition to maybe stripping away some of the technical language within the figure.
Re tanda wogi tanda tori chikdwa dita wo ina chikchena ani kayam tinga tsenri ma chang manyong chila ko khabu yosigres di peri di peje ani ko thukure samgudo sina ya dila yagdu tanya la ani wola deshe masuna tundun dubu dende kyaba ina dige ani sedo tanya la kheba sugre samgudos na
Ya, kami di paru ngia lau siapa, ala, siapa yang gorsar. Ngaso di, tanda Buddhist practice lah itu, dia lah tanda memorization lah, di tu sekarang dah Ini tanda introduction nalo, iya mampu itu, dia lah tu ngaso ki sleep la ni khunjo ge remote ti deni pa den error ti ra deni sujo de la gombe na la pugu chi ki peja lo zen jo si ti deni sujo la digi sujo tangbo de ni pa de la pen na ne la ne ya chwa do ti ya ja ra ping ne la di che de yang deni wo la pe ge yang chen ge thoni ta dan kan di na che la ne chwa do ti ti che ba ina ko de se ge de remote den ne ko question mark cha sa yo ra di 이게 망고디 뇨르 된데 땅에 야고에서 상고도스.
So one thing that they would suggest is to replace Buddhist practice by the practice itself, so memorization or whatever. And then in the introduction, instead of those texts, you can have three sort of pictures. One picture of a guy sleeping, and then someone reciting, and then a kind of arrow pointing whether that's helpful or not. So replacing the text with some illustrations.
Perfect. Beautiful.
Yes, that manchen raudo rishara. Nganzu chudi chishin jo chig nalo khari lesun lana thanda digi ani seri gi chetup chasa rimbash gyudwa. Dige chasa gi bangso la tanam duzug nano na nyungji sawudine mangbu yungbu yorwa. Otu chade mugo ane zodi ane tumje rangi tola ya ane ngote shuya gi dimbezo chena district mangso le pen to yo mendos.
So there it's very reducing some of the steps presented here. The whole scientific research process need not be presented in the poster, but rather focus on the result itself and then make the poster sort of highlight that, emphasize the result.
Yeah, there's so many details. Thanks. There's so many details about the methodology that you definitely would want to address in a science poster, but for the community, you don't need to go into all of those details. And so it's sometimes a tough decision as to what to get rid of, but Calden's point of turning things into pictures, coupled with Sangpo's point of taking some of the extra content about methods details away, will open up a lot of space that you can be much more visual than you would with all the words.
Rest poster dinde ki nanglo la tayang ko thenri ba da dinde la temba ina ko chetab du sebu chine tyong gu go ras ina ya mangso la ani tembe kapsu pheje ani thablam du chasa pheje gu ma res andina du tu ta yo res imba ina ya da di ga syang zo kange chi khari yo sana khari ba tyong go re khari sha go re di kange chi res dine da tangi ke kandela gi ani remue lamne an sa yiso nyong do tan remue lam tin ya da an thanda dine ne thablam kha ching ma tem bai na anga zu tong cha to sing gu ra din ba sun za ya ko dina ko ba di ke ri chene thong de bu de so ya yung ru was
Chig di nganzu di laps thanda. Thanda di nalo la thanyi pyoje dan du sambala ane gyundeng gi chig thanyi ko de bu de pyoje tang thuna this gezen chia user spend cha chana wangza siri malawa che ne lebe siri se so do tinde lana chig mangzo gi pike ko de dan juk de yumen dos.
So another thing is the technical terms that they have used here. So perhaps replace those with terms and phrases that are easier to understand by the public. For instance, instead of neuroscience, we can say brain science.
Yeah, absolutely critical point. And really, this is where writing with a person in mind, going through your poster, wondering for each word, would your friend know what that means, or do you need to handhold it or make it simple? A place where things can get often very technical are in the figures, where we have, the names of the axes can get very technical, so you can, strip that away and provide more common language interpretation of, in this part of the figure, instead of providing the technical term, you could provide more of a summary term for the viewer and at other points in the figure. So that could be very helpful as well.
re did pendo chimbu the pendo chimbu karsura mangso la shebe kapsu tanye ani khang la la pheju ta di tende pendo chimbu res and di yongya la sem na lo la music sone ko gi ta de ju sam ko sar ves la ni cheba ina ani karsure di lela rotaya la pheche ani pendo yongres ya kale yongsa chicks la ore ta tanye senri gi tanye yongsa chick de ta remove gi ngazo ta chik karsure shungti da thedi du zung jin chebe kapsu ya senri rang gi tanye pheche she den yongsi gi ro ta dinju chap do ya tanye khandes lela du tang go du zo ye ngazo samlo tang sa we ba chres
다 지 디삼서로 네 보스라 구랑이 춘다지오라 이게 다 춘다니고 디스 이완 투보를 세바 임바이나 가장 게라스고 나지 아니 고 따데오요 정거라 미마 끼마이나 고 람사파리 딜타니 고저 죽도에지 난 이버들 단다 다 미마 끼마기 딜타디 잠발라 고저 데시 자디 잠발라 아니 체리 또 니네 데시고 어레스 낭제 또 니네 시고 어레스 디나로 단다 룽니 지세지오라 디상문도 어디 주바이나 아니 고저 미마 끼마인디 지 야 이제다 지 요라 니네 토니 아니 고저라 지 죽도요 제바스
So one is to make the poster visually appealing. So selection of the colors, font colors, and so on, I think is critical. And the second thing, since this is talking about Buddhist practice, perhaps some quotation or references, adding some references might be helpful in this case.
So that's a really interesting point when you think about presenting this in the Tibetan community or in the monastic community, right? A lot of the language here may be of interest to scientists, but you could use quotations to pull in, other populations of people, monastics or lay populations, by really changing the wording, changing the audience that you're focusing on and the types of quotations and the types of things that you're focusing on. I think that's really, really good point.
di tenda nenga chimbu shu jire shasra ani di ta kharsura nga zu poster di mimang kyumali ne da ya de chi gonde thasang gi ani chi so di nanglo la tyen gu gi na an din de lung thang ya la so bo zu gi ya konzu gi sem de na la ani ju ya dan zu le kheba tin de yo rest di nenga chimbu dus
Yeah.
단다 디 세리 마신 게 식세운데 다데 양치 당보 세리게 기버 제당 담람로 데스 치고디노 모토 제토나 티니시니 티니 담람디 고요비 띵니 티니가 추고티 카르통게나 티인세치 라 치기도 단다 강르게 안에 돈로고 소원다오시 주 뭐기 돈사가 잡종 가능이지래 동기요메 telpabe bagine rumoina peina tishatana kunji pondu shuyamsara Ukraine.
Yes. So he has a different comment about presenting the methods, scientific methods in doing the research. Since these are people who may not have any scientific background, for them understanding the methodology may be helpful in terms of how we reached to this result and conclusion. And the other one is, depending on who the audience is, one way to connect them is through, quotations and examples and so on that are drawn from the community itself.
Yeah, really good. I mean, it's a fine line. You want to get people kind of curious about new ideas. So having some things that are new methodology points that could be conversation starters are really good teaching and conversation moments. But finding that balance so that it just doesn't push people away is where the real art form is.
Tadi race karsure ngazo poster tange chogi sem nanglo la rikwa saba da samlo saba le la ya thablam saba de ngodo che digi tende phendo gurwas tene ya ko thablam kebu shibu chine mage ko kunzo chige tani matro so chane tada digyo marda di ko thonyambu yongya di thapshi tenya di kechimbu rest.
And just one more point on that. I'm glad you mentioned that point. The goal is not to strip all the content out and just have kind of superficial pictures, right? The goal is to find that balance between keeping, being true to the science, but also making it accessible. And I think that's a real art form.
제가 디낭로 된다 내가 치부지 가르쳐서 손라바이나 아주 미유디 아니 고 갈소레 십자 상마파세네 아니 좀데나 리모잠 때디 마르와스 다얌 지기 망 타와이네 따다 되기 민도아스티 인도 잠발다 망초다 미규말 템베컵수 고 지게 찬용부지 아니 용해야디 고 생리 여바체 안 디네야 수수리 손다데도 저 여바치네 찬용부 수야디 개침부르샤스.
Okay, one more. Colin? Or, yeah.
Hello. ngaji shusum de la dinda dinang la ya tangbo dinang joja ge na rimo khare tengi mai ne ro tanda ti tuen se yu ge ani na to ge dinda lobdi tharam na la wa na shi to khosur de dia de jewa yo yo
제거다.
jewa ta ya de pe che sim bore sim lobdi tharam na la khosur relevant ne jo 어디 가는 파주기 일라비디기 다 코랑 남규기 다 코랑도 절사기 미디게다 도도지기다 제왔다니 아니 베덴샤이나 더 리모나 지고 로고이나 아니 파린바자 고퇴라니 빼마지 펜토리스야 로비 탈라나 인데슈도 디안디 키면서 그랬음들어 아니 지단다 로고다 로고니디 아니 ngaina 디니라 아니 디시서리 하나 직 세리기 다 전달하고 있다 지 남배 전달하고 샤이나 롭종 마신 이지 따와나 오 티다 테릭다 나 저기 코치 두 삼해줘 지로 마신 지네 뭐 두 시간에 토반이 이게 로고도 마시 토나 시라 마시죠 어디데 삼두지.
So one point that I would want to make here is what we learned in the pedagogical method, where we want the audience to see the relevance of that, right? So for that, perhaps having some cultural references or so might be helpful for audience to connect with this, see the relevance in this poster. And then the other comment is about the logos that are on the posters. So those two logos don't convey much information. So maybe having a symbol representing science and a symbol representing Buddhism may be more effective.
Calden, did you want to make one? And this will be our last point, then we'll move on.
Yeah, like the tanda ngaso gi tanda sleep quality la sto ni gi pise la tanda ngaso shidang xin ya de mi ma khurang so lo phendo yang che de ro jesa kap do papa de gi joja khurang sleep quality gi shujin ta dan yin bo song zang sleep quality khurang yang ya la yang tablang kari me chen ri gi to ne den de la ne pena bu gu chin chu le ni ren se tang so ko re la di kap du di nang se wo me wa de se wo la sha wa yin na di nang so jun de ne ke chen bo yin zang de dang sho la yo la pe ge phendo yang sa des.
So one of the goals of such presentation seems to be benefiting the community. So here, since we are talking about sleep quality and how it impacts us, perhaps listing some of the benefits of these good sleep quality might be helpful, right? So for kids of this age, this amount of sleep is necessary and so on. So kind of providing information that are helpful for the community.
Yeah, great point. So really, I think this is highlighting what's the take-home point that you want people to walk away from. Remember, the science of memory suggests that you got 1 or 2 points that people are going to hold on to, right? So you can't give them 10, but a few points or 1 point or 2 points that you really want to have people walk away from. And given the kind of health component of this work, really, giving people a take-home point to that they can use to highlight their health would be very helpful.
Tendegi poster khande chimbaina di nanglo ne thenda khiriya gi thenda chicks ni chikta injimji gugu res ra ta ko di thenda chus shabaina migi semlangi marwa di imbasunza te di nanglo la thenda kher chuya di kharimba an di nanglo la ta sebungonji chetubaina ra ani poster dini ta ne nyene ani pranzol phendo che yungures.
So we would like you to do this as a task. And so what we recommend, or what we'd ask you to do, is take a poster from your group that you've already created. And I think every group should have a poster that they've created.
다 그냥 그런 쪽이 다디 kanzo 디나로 주게 기체도 아니 다 최고직로와 디인디 다 루가 수수수 페이지 포스터를 써요로와 디 포스터 디 실라샤네
Make a copy of that poster. So don't work on the original. Remember, one of the themes of this workshop is always work on a copy. So make a copy of that poster.
데 근데 프로스트 코란갈라다 내가 마치바체 디게 다슈체스니로와 안디 다슈디갈라 내가 체체
Save that copy with a new name, like the name of your poster copy, as added at the end.
테네 다코 다슈세사베 젤라 디파 냐차기 체도 밍 셴바제다 로와
And then what we would like you to do is to modify your poster that you've already created from your research project in a prior year to make it accessible to the community, to make a community accessible poster.
다디 온디갈 다 레가체네 디 포스디 ngo마 칸조게 서버와 수수 심주를 시샤네 다디 아니 수수 지초게 나로라 라 센리 마신바 미큐마직라 다코 데시갸고 땡고위요나 라 아니 디 지글라루 칸데스탄고도 코데로 칸데스탄고도 디 아니 땅에 베스나로나스
Again, the goal is to modify your poster to make it accessible to the community. You don't have to throw out all you've done. You could just look for places to tweak it to make it more accessible, or you could make more larger changes and move from text to images.
다 미규 카레스라바이나 포스터 디 아니 코데로 땅에 레스 라 콘조기 로 윤디 코투비아 온디 임버선자 단다 요바디 차잔파 숲니 사바 스스라니 랍기 메스 라 쿠란 요바디라 요와 템부 땅바이나 코데로 간데 땅 투사르디 엔 땅에 레스
The due date for this poster is Sunday, December 15th.
다디 카드 사고레스 라바이나 사니마 라 다리종아 낭주일라 차와 체고레스
We will then print them on Monday.
온디 차와 체라 아니 차네 야 겔라 콘줄레야 테디 사니마라 체 아니 사다와라 겔라 콘줄디 파르갸긴스
And then we'll post them. We're either going to post them here, or there's a community event at Gomong at the monastery on the 17th and 18th. So hopefully we can actually have a bit of a community science presentation at the Gomong monastery or wherever. We will post them and have kind of more of a community-oriented poster session.
dene par gyane ani kawai na chigla jargi inste la ine da yana tari chupnyu chopge la komang la kho kharsure phage leshi chi yosare endi ga su gyane khanje mangcho la ani cheri ngotu gi ngajo legu sura chik che ins
So this also, as different tasks come up during this workshop, you can start to distribute responsibilities to different people. So maybe one pair of people takes the lead on this, and another pair would work on some data analysis, and you kind of distribute the responsibilities of the various tasks to people amongst your group.
다 루가난게 미창마게 다 첼레도 줄어 냠슈 나로 체스 디임바 인디 아니 칸즈 포스트 찍다 야도 당구고요나 아니 미 레고 잡네 라 미니니게 템버레레 칼라 레가 체네 아니 야도 타야 딘데제네 칸제 미창마게 냠슈 난고 그레스.
Okay, two final points. One is I want to follow up on the question that was asked to Daniel about the difficulty of working in the terminal space or working with code. And just want to say that we totally get that. And one of the things we'll be doing behind the scenes, like we did for the Muse, is to write some code to make it simpler so that it's point and click. And James Glazer, who's a part of our team, who's a great programmer, is going to be working to make a lot of this simpler so that you're not having to go into the terminal or do any types of coding. But we're working on that as we speak.
다단기 칸즈기 저거치기 낭로라 아니 고 카르송아즈 로글레 코란라 파 카르송아즈기 koba masuna shene dinde chero cheslane di labia di kale khabu yorwa di basuna di tap dero tataya ti khonzo gyabla lega je cheshin ba ins ani James Glazer khura dinde nyinche swela so bodu ze tobu yores di basuna khurangi da tanda Python ready page chela code page tang mo kwachin nuya numbe thone ani che du zu tanda sweshin bares.
Okay, so for the remainder of this afternoon session, we're going to give you time to work on your projects. You could start to work on data organization. You could start to work on data cleaning. If you've done a fair amount of work on data organization and cleaning, you can start to run descriptive analyses on some of your data. And again, get very concrete about what your tasks are so you're using time wisely. And then we're going to come and meet with Group 8 while you're starting to work. And eventually we'll meet with Group 3 and I think Group 10 and we'll continue to meet with the groups.
Tatanda tizul hangma di ene number sugi peju chene ta nanggoya rwa ta thangdo di ene kodi che ine da thangdo jangma sue ine da andu sangma cha ina ani di taji gi thone yeship che go chu bai ne di nang ro ches ani di gapsu khari chego wa di sebu shu chine thone ani nangbaina ani chuse mandroba chene changma chago edu chagres ani kyanzu di nangbe ani ring de la gela khuranzu gi tanda ruga chuba re geba sumba khunzu thugi is.
Okay, thank you. Just is to first create a Tibetan version and not worry about the English if you don't want to do English.
Yeah, we are doing, so far we did the EEG reporting for the sample Chitamata group, Prasangika group and control group. So far we totally each group we did 33 and 45. That means totally so far we have 78 participants. In Chitamata 26, Prasangika 26 and control group 26 members, a total 78. So also we have panas. This is emotions of 10 negative emotions and 10 positive emotions, and also we have survey and self-report for all the samples 78. And we also those panas we also already in the Excel sheet.
All those are in the
all in the Excel sheet. So this is what we done so far, and now we are on the process is that we are doing the EEG data pre-processing. So for this year, I did 2 or 3 times each subject, but for the ICA component, it's very difficult, right? Not only looking for the map, ICA map, we also need to look on the time course because our experiment is continuously EEG data pack. So we are actually focusing only on the meditation, right? So that we need to look both sides. As James recommend those map, it's also helpful, but we need to also need for the time course. So for the time course, we need little knowledge on this to understand which we need to exclude it. This is the one thing we are processing. And also, we are trying to get the scripts for the analyzing. We have the scripts for the pre-processing. Okay. We have the script. It's easy to copy paste and we can code, right? So we have 2, 3. We have MNE lab.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have MNE lab. This is
So when you say you've got the scripts for the pre-processing, that's taking you through filtering and what else would that take you through?
Actually, it's filtering and also excluding those eye blinks and muscle things. It will keep only the brain activity. Okay. But what we stopped is that not only James' report, not only seeing the maps. I will show you one thing.
Coba ale computer nan tena tentuk tu ale okay.
So this is the one. This is the triple name. Yeah, I see it. So through this, we can understand which one excluded. But not only this is not sufficient, right? We need to look the time course. So actually, yeah, we recorded the time course. We recorded the time course.
Yeah, this is one downside of the mini lab.
Yes.
You can't do this. You can't change the scale very easily.
So we need to look both these and the other photo, and then we need to exclude it, which one is. So we are stuck on this time course.
So you're looking what participants to exclude or what journals to exclude?
Eye blink and muscles, and also like outside art field.
Can we back up a second? Say can you just, because my head's a little spinning, can you remind me how long did they wear the EEG and what were they doing wearing it?
Yeah, for like 15 minutes. Yeah,
All together. Full time we have 2 minutes. One is for one process, like 2 minutes, and then 2 minutes. Then all to one.
Yes, we have like 16 minutes. All are continuous, and starting from 0 minute to 2 minutes eye open, and 2 minutes to 4 minutes close eye, and 4 minutes to 6 minutes breathing meditation, and 6 minutes to 13 minutes we are like emptiness meditation, and 13 minutes to 16 minutes it's like open eye. This is continuous data. So we are only focusing on the 6 minutes to 13 minutes. That's why Mariki recommended we need to check the time course, because we have whole package.
You have it all together.
Yeah, all together.
You need to trim it essentially.
And then your data in the Google Drive?
No, but I have a pen drive.
So there's one challenge, just not challenge, but one nuanced issue, which is that you've done 2 years worth of data collection.
Yes.
Last year, you broke it, you had separate files for each of those events. This year, you basically just started needing to report the EEG data for the next 16 events due to these various days. And so it's one file. So we need to know what to unbox.
Are there events in the data? No. Did you press a button?
But we have the whole we have time notebook entry.
Sorry, so the answer was no to whether you pressed a button.
Yeah. Actually, there's no press.
No press. So it was 1 minute, and then from 0 started. When it is 2, then it's 1, then now start 2. When they have a 4 part, then you see close your eyes, then you start.
So you trust it's within a few seconds?
Few seconds.
And that's one question. Did you write down different times for different people, or is it always the same time that everyone uses?
The EEG is sent, but sometimes it can be little bit some seconds differences. If something differences, we know that because of sometimes
actually it's easy to understand, because for the 6 when we studying the emptiness meditation, it's like 360 seconds, and ending in 13 minutes means 780 seconds. But it shows it can show in the past. This is the what we can got from ICA.
So to me, when I look at this, my first thought is that the scale is too small. We're not seeing any of the actual brain waves. We're zoomed out, right? This is
These are IC14s.
oh, I see. These are ICs. Okay.
Yeah, so it's not the right.
This is where you're supposed to come.
These are isolations, these are components, not body.
But so, in the tutorial that James shared with you,
Yeah,
what did you
this
say?
one gets scalped. So